Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. It is that time of the week again. We're looking at the NFL Draftkings and Fanduel Week 4 final look picks for Sunday, so let's get started. As always, if you guys enjoy the videos, hit the like button. You guys have got this video to over 200 likes the first 3 weeks. Let's see if we can make it 4 in a row. If you want to join us, you can visit the website, dfsprocess.net. Follow me on Twitter at the DFSProcess for updates, and let's get into it. So, quarterback plays for this Sunday, you got a bunch at the top end. Josh Allen against Houston. Now, this is a game that they're favored by, I think, about 17 points or so. This could easily turn into a blowout, but if it does turn into a blowout, I think Allen is probably going to have a monster game. So, you're probably going to have to hope that he gets most of his production in the first half, because the fourth quarter, he might not be playing much. But he still gives you so much upside because he can rush in for a couple touchdowns. You know, he had a solid game last week with 5 total touchdowns, so he just gives you so much upside that against Houston, which he has yet to kind of connect with Stefan Diggs and have a monster game. I think those two are due. Wouldn't be shocked if they kind of go off this Sunday. Kyler Murray is right in the mix as well. If you're looking for a quarterback in a more closely contested game here, this should be a nice showdown between two 3-0 teams going up against the Rams. Murray's kind of a little bit of a discount right now. He's 78. So I probably like the savings on Kyler Murray in a closer game. A little bit more than I like Josh Allen just based on the price and the game script. And then Russell Wilson against San Fran. He is about $7,100 on DraftKings. It's a spot where I expect this game to also be closely contested and be somewhat higher scoring. So Russell Wilson gives you a lot of upside, as we all know. And the price tag isn't that bad on him as a top-end quarterback. The mid-range, you got Jalen Hurts. He's $6,900. This is a game that they should be trailing against the Chiefs. They're at home, so that gives me a little bit more confidence in going with Hurts. Even though he struggled last week against Dallas, he still got there in garbage time, so as long as he doesn't play completely awful and gets benched or something like that, which I definitely don't think will happen, Jalen Hurts should be out there throwing the ball a ton in the second half, and we know he has a lot of upside with the legs. So even on a bad week, he can still get you 25. The upside is there for 30 plus. Aaron Rodgers against Pittsburgh. That Steelers defense, the whole team is kind of the defense at least played a lot better than the offense last week, but that team right now, they need some help. Rodgers has been playing great the last couple of weeks. He's $6,800. I think him and Adams make for a great stack on Sunday. And then you get to guys like Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins. Cousins has just been on another level. They could easily be 3-0. The kicker missed a short field goal in week 2 to cost them the win. And then week 1, they were going back and forth with Cincinnati. They had chances in overtime and at the end of regulation. But Kirk Cousins has been throwing the ball great. We know he has great weapons to throw to with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, and then you guys the running back Dalvin Cook if he's in there this week. And the value plays, I like Sam Darnold. He's only $6,000. He's been playing great. He should have to shoulder a lot more role, expecting his role to increase. Just have to throw more passes without Christian McCaffrey as they kind of game plan against Dallas, which Dallas offense has looked electric. In 2 out of the 3 weeks, they struggled a little bit against the Chargers, but they just weren't able to punch it into the end zone. They still put up 20 points. But Sam Darnold should have to keep up with that offense, and they should have to throw the ball a lot, especially with McCaffrey. They can't rely on the run. And then Jameis Winston against the Giants, just as a tournament option as a cheap quarterback against a poor defense with some upside with the legs as well. Moving on to the running back position, you have 2 at the top here. It's no real question that the 2 guys at the top end are Derrick Henry and Alvin Kamara. Most people are going to be looking to pick one of the 2 and to get them into their lineups. You could go without both of them and go with a more balanced approach. But if you are going to be looking up, I think Kamara against the Giants makes for a lot of sense. Henry is also firmly in play, but usually Kamara is going to be more expensive than Henry. This week it's kind of the opposite. He's cheaper by $400, so I'd probably side with Kamara, although it is very close. Maybe if they don't have Julio Jones on Sunday, then you can lean to Henry just because they are going to utilize him a lot more and he should get a lot more usage. The mid-range, you have Najee Harris against Green Bay. A couple of those Steelers receivers are still listed as questionable. They went through limited practices, so if they're all healthy, then that takes a little bit of a bump down for Harris in terms of the receiving game, but I still like him because he gets you so much involvement and just so many touches because he's out there on the field, 100% of the snaps. Zeke Elliot, he's cheap on DraftKings. He's going up against Carolina, which has played well so far defensively, but Elliott's still, the only question is if he's not going to get the touches if they go with Tony Pollard, but we saw last week that Elliott is still the preferred option to get a lot of the touches, especially in passing situations where where he's very good with the pass blocking and can catch some passes and take it upfield. And then Chris Carson, I like him against San Fran, just a guy that gets you about 15 or so touches a game. You're pretty safe here, gets you those goal line looks. You wish that the targets and the catches are a little bit higher just to help with the floor, but you're getting a good amount out of him in the running game. The value players, I love DeAndre Swift. If you're looking for a mini like Kamara, it's kind of Swift here. He gets a good amount of carries on the ground, and then he gets a bunch of targets. It's against Chicago, and the coach said that they might look to utilize Swift more this week and going forward after he played very well against Baltimore last week. Then you get the guys like Antonio Gibson against Atlanta, who's a very good discount. That game is flying a little bit under the radar, but I think you can look to both sides of that game. Get Gibson, get Terry McLaurin, run it back with the Calvin Ridley on the other side. David Montgomery, it's going to be dependent on who's the quarterback. If it's Justin Fields, I'm not that interested. If it's Andy Dalton, I think it's a little bit more interesting. He's only $5,800. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire, if you wanted to roll with him, he's against Philly. He's been getting a lot of the touches on the running back position, and the Eagles defense did kind of get taken to town against that Cowboys run. At the wide receiver position, Devonte Adams is the clear-cut top option of the slate. Usually, guys like Adams is separated by a few $100s compared to the next most expensive wide receiver this week. He's the second most expensive wide receiver behind Tyreek Hill. Most people are not going to be able to get both of them in their lineups. If you had to pick one, it would be Devonte Adams for me, just based on the fact that he's locked in on these huge target shares from Aaron Rodgers. The matchup isn't as bad as it looks, just looking at Pittsburgh. Expect the Packers to be able to move the football against them. And then you have Cooper Kupp, Stefan Diggs. Kupp is probably still going to get a lot of ownership because people look at a lot of box scores, and he's been awesome. So can't really fault you if you want to play Cooper Kupp. This is another good spot where they should have to, where it should be another high-scoring game, and they're moving the football all afternoon. And Stefan Diggs, for like the tournament players out there, he looks like a great tournament option this week against Houston. If there's a shot for Diggs to get multiple touchdowns or break a couple of long ones, it is this week against that Houston secondary. The mid-range plays, you have DK Metcalf. Tyler Lockett didn't practice Thursday's practice, so we'll see. If there is no Tyler Lockett this Sunday, then Metcalf becomes probably one of the best wide receiver options in that range. Right now, I love Calvin Ridley because he is top 5 in NFL in the wide receiver position and getting end zone targets. He has like 8 on the season. That's only amounted to 1 touchdown, but that is not sustainable. That's going to increase, which is how much Matt Ryan peppers the football to Calvin Ridley. If you're looking for a high floor, that is Calvin Ridley, and it still gives you a high upside. He just hasn't had a lot of big plays yet this year, but they're definitely going to come. And this Washington defense has not lived up to their hype so far. They gave up over 40 last Sunday against Buffalo, and they could give up. This could be the week where the Atlanta's offense at least puts up north of 20, and if that's the case, I think Ridley's going to have a big week. This game, you can also run it back because Atlanta's defense is not very good. You can run it back with Terry McLaurin at a good price tag. Play both Ridley and McLaurin, get some of that correlation into your lineups. The value plays, DJ Moore is just a little bit too cheap on DraftKings. He's $6,600. I love that matchup. Or I love the price tag. Maybe the matchup isn't the best against Diggs, but usually a guy that's getting this much volume, he's going to pay off eventually. They can move him around the field if they wanted. The ball is going to be put into DJ Moore's hands, especially without McCaffrey. They don't really have that many other options to look to on the offense. They have DJ Moore. They can maybe look to like Robbie Anderson for those big plays, but in terms of just moving the football and getting those solid like 10 to 15-yard plays, it's going to be looking at DJ Moore a lot on Sunday. Odell Beckham looks great against Minnesota without Jarvis Landry. He returned last week, played over 60% of the snaps. I think that number can go up this week. He got 9 targets, 5 receptions. He's going to be utilized a lot offensively whenever they look to throw the football. Just without Jarvis Landry, his floor is a lot higher, and he still gives you some good upside. So at 58 on DraftKings, he looks very appealing. Then you get to guys like Cortland Sutton and Cole Beasley. Beasley's just getting peppered with targets. And then Sutton, with the injuries to Jerry Jeudy, who's still out, obviously, and then with the new injury to KJ Hamler, who's out for the year, Sutton and Patrick are basically the 2 wide receivers that are going to get most of the targets from Teddy Bridgewater. So Sutton at a affordable price tag under $6K makes some sense. And the more value plays are Marquis Brown. He could have broke the slate last Sunday. He dropped potentially 3 touchdowns, 2 for sure touchdowns, and then 1 that he could have ran after the catch for a touchdown. So that definitely sucked if you rostered Marquis Brown. But this week, I don't think he's going to get a lot of ownership, so it makes sense as a tournament option. Brandon Ayuk was finally on the field a lot more after getting very limited snaps the first couple of weeks. That number should increase, especially if George Kittle is out, who is dealing with a calf injury. He didn't practice on Thursday. And then if there is no Julio Jones, you already know that A.J. Brown is very unlikely to play. He's week to week. Then Nick Westbrook, it should benefit largely against the Jets. He got a touchdown last Sunday. He's only $3,200. If they are missing their top two weapons, then he becomes their number one option in the passing game, and definitely will look to him as a value play. Tight end options, you only have one at the top end. That's Travis Kelce. You don't have Darren Waller to look to at the top end. The mid-range, you got a bunch of options, like all sandwiched in here. Hockenson against Chicago. Baltimore has done a pretty good job of limiting the number one weapon on team so far. They took away Tyreek Hill 2 weeks ago. They took away T.J. Hockenson last week. But this week it's against the Bears, so it's a different story here. I expect Goff to go back to Hockenson. I don't think Chicago will double cover him the way that Baltimore did. Logan Thomas against Atlanta, just a solid option. A guy that's going to get around like 5 to 7 targets. I think they'll be able to move the football, so maybe he'll get some red zone opportunities. Dallas Goedert is in the mix here against KC and Tyler Higbee. I probably like Higbee just because he's on the field like the whole game. And this game should be very competitive and high scoring. And then the value plays, you have Dalton Schultz. People will go back to him people will go to him after he scored 2 touchdowns on that showdown slate. And then I think you can run it back with Tommy Tremble. I don't see his name being talked about too much, but 3rd round pick in this year's draft. They traded away Dan Arnold to get Tommy Tremble some more playing time. They utilized him in week 3, and going forward, he's going to be their pass catching tight end because Ian Thomas is used for blocking. So don't be surprised if you start to hear Tremble's name a lot more, and he's only $2,500 on Sunday. And last but not least, the defense plays. At the top end, it's the Bills and the Titans. Any team against the Jets right now, they're just going to be a solid option at defense, even though the Titans haven't scored a lot of fantasy points this year. The Bills against Houston, they look a little bit safer than the Titans just because that defense has made a lot of big plays this year so far, whereas the Titans have not. The mid-range, play the Saints against Daniel Jones if you wanted to, but I like the Packers against Pittsburgh. Ben Roethlisberger just doesn't look right. Probably going to turn the ball over at least once, maybe twice. And then I like the Lions a little bit against Chicago. If there is Justin Fields at the quarterback position, if Andy Dalton returns, you can still play the Lions, but they'll take a little bit less appealing. Then maybe they can go to the Colts instead against Miami without Tua still. And that's it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Best of luck on Sunday, and I'll see you all next time.